to install your LED light strip that's going to follow this crack right here all the way down. What you're going to want to do is you want to pop these loose back to here. And we figured out that a little bit of WD-40 and 2 flathead screwdrivers, and you don't break them. And then back in here behind this, there's a 10mm bolt. Then you got these Phillips across here. And same thing over here with the pins. Once you've got those done, then you've got a 10mm in here, 10mm in here, 10mm in here, and a 10mm in here. And these will just come off, and then this thing will come off. And you want this whole front to come off. Because if you don't, and you try to go underneath, you fight it. Highly recommend setting some carpet on the ground, so that way you've got something to set your front bumper on. That way it doesn't scratch up your paint. Alright guys, so once you get this tray out, like I have, in the kit you're going to get this wire. This one here doesn't have the protective coating on it yet, but they will. And here's the T, it's a T wire. So just take the T, shove it through this hole, and let it dangle down there, because when we come back in and we plug it into the harness, we'll just plug that in. And then take it and run it around, put some zip ties, and then tuck it. I stuck this one through the bracket and just dangle it down here. Both sides. Zip tie, through the hole next to the coolant tank and behind the headlight. So that way when we come back, that's going to power our daytime running lights, and it'll tie in to the harness in the box on the underside of the dash. When we get there, you'll see. Alright, now that you've taken out all these pins, now you can see that bolt in there. And that, my friends, is a 10mm. There's the exact same one, as you can see, back in there. And once that's out, and all these is taken out, you've taken out all of these, a little shot of WD, flathead screwdriver, kind of gentle, coming it out. This whole front end will come off. Okay, now that you've gotten that bolt out, which was a 10mm, right here, snuck underneath there, is a number 3 Phillips. And I recommend taking these out with a screw gun. I, however, do not recommend putting them back in with a screw gun, because too much of a risk of stripping them out. Okay, now that you got the front off, sitting on the carpet, what you want to do is you want to take dry erase markers, what I use, like this, and you want to mark a line right along here, right along that lens, down to this corner, right through there. Because when you take this out, you want to have a reference line to where to lay that strip in there. Because you're going to want to tuck it in that crack like we talked about, because that will hold that strip on that lens. It'll keep it squished in there and it won't move. Now once you get this whole front out, you got a Phillips there, Phillips there, Phillips there, and then there's a Phillips right there. And you take those 4 screws out, and that whole headlight assembly is going to come out. And keep in mind, we don't have to open that headlight, we just need to get to the top of it so we can lay that strip in real nice. So right here you can see there's little cut marks. So you want to lay it on there with it tucked a little bit under this corner, about that much, because it'll give it a nice fade on this corner. And then cut it just shy of this bracket right here on this mark. And then you can adjust it this way to get it in for a nice seat and let that other end run wild underneath. I'll show you. Now we're going to stick her down. Then you follow that black line all the way up, and then dive it right here, just like that. And that's why I want to use rubbing alcohol, clean that really good so that adhesive strip will stick. Now as far as the black line, take you this little rag and you wipe it up. And that's the end of it. So this takes a little bit to get her in there, but as you can see where that tuck is, it gives it a nice fade. And when they're lit, it'll fade out. Back there, they look really cool. Now this takes a little bit of finagling, and you gotta talk real nice to her, because this one here, getting that tucked in there. All right, have to get the headlight back in. You're gonna have your plugs hanging down. And here's your daytime running plug that we showed the video of earlier. And then on the frame, it's gonna be your stock plug, just like this, okay? And it looks like when I pulled the blank out, I pulled the little white thing out, so I'm gonna have to grab that off the blank and stick it back in there. So then you just plug those in right there. And there's the one coming off the light. Plugs right into the factory, so you don't have to do anything. Green to green. Now I'm going to plug in the daytime running light. And just like that, plug in your daytime running light. Take these up like this. Zip tie them up in there. Zip tie them to some stuff. And you're good to go. So this is the mount for the turn signal lever. It fits right in this little slot right back here. But to keep it from flopping around, what you want to do is right along here, you want to take an 1/8 inch drill bit and you want to drill holes in there. You get a good picture. Yeah, right there. Right along there. So that this will slide through there to the other side to go around. So that way it'll keep anything you have from sliding this way, keep it from vibrating, and it'll be solid. And I'll show you how we did that with an 1/8 inch bit through that soft aluminum. Alright, so it doesn't take very long. As you can see, I just made a little notch in there. Now, full disclaimer, if you're not comfortable drilling a hole in there, don't do it. Dad and I did it on his first one, and we haven't had any issues as far as weakening the structure of this column. But if you don't want to, by all means, there's a lot of different ways you could probably get this to mount on there. That's just what we found that was the easiest. And then once you do that, this thing fits around there through that little hole. And then I'll show you the handle mounted. I've got this hooked and I've just got it a couple threads in, but it's just hanging there. And then the handle has this spot right here where it hooks through that ring and you're done. Alright, and then that's mounted in there. If I can get around here, I'll show you. See where that just tucks around that little lip? Right there. And then I put the clamp right underneath and just tighten her down. She's solid. Alright, so then you got this wire, and this is the wire for the plug. You're going to see all these plugs here, and this is for the turn signal switch, the flasher, the LED adjustable flasher. We built it like this because it was kind of a pain, and we had to take some plastic off to tuck it around that steering column. So we went this route so you guys could just tuck it in and then just plug the adjustable flasher in on the underside when you plug in the end. All right. So right through here is where we ran it. And you just run that baby, I'm trying to do it one-handed, in there. So, come on, baby. Again, easier if you don't try to do it one-handed. And because the steering wheel is in the highest position, which means the shock is at its fullest extension, this is where we just zip tied it to the shock, right like that. Just tucked over here and zip tied it to that shock. Because when we put it down, it's just going to give this more slack. And we don't care if it rides up and down on this pole or on that shock, because this is abrasive resistant, this coating, and it'll be fine. We just don't want it to get caught on anything. We just want it tucked in there real nice. Now I'll show you on the underside. Alright guys, so you take the seat out, you come in here, and you take out these, which are 10mm, and then you reach up in here and you pull this down. There's some rubber grommets back there that you stick it into. And she just pops out like that. Alright guys, so this is the underside of the machine underneath the dash. And right up here, try to get it, is a crossbar. You see my fingers are on? This one? Your wire has to come up and over that, because if not, it'll get caught on the plastic. So when you pull this wire through, that you can see piled up right there is our wire. That's our harness. You want to go up over this and then down right here, and you're going to tie into your plug. Alright, now as you can see, here's our plug with our power. This is keyed power that will go to the front. It's going to tie into this three-way that we dropped right here. And this will go into that and go up and over for the front. But what I really want to show you is, can I show it to you? Maybe I will see it. The bar. Right there. Yeah, you can't see it. Get out of my way. Right here. See that bar? See the bar? We're going over the bar. We're going to make sure it's dropped over the bar. And then here's the plugs. The 90-degree plugs go on the sides. The black one is negative. One's negative, one's positive. It'll be oriented for the flasher. Here's the flasher, and you see the bent prong. It goes up It goes in just like this. Man, this is hard to film. Just like this. Click, click. Okay. All right, there's our flasher installed. Now, I highly recommend plugging this in and adjusting it how you want it before you put the plastic cover in and button this thing up. All right. All right. So now we're going to install, I'm going to hook up this, which is the daytime running lights, and then I'm going to plug into the harness that's under the dash. All right, guys. So here's the daytime running light hooked together, and here's the harness hooked into the factory side, which means when you turn on the machine like that, and you flip the lever, the light works right there. Okay, so back here on the back, you have these 10mm, and what we do is we take this one out, loosen this one, just enough to get this to come up, because underneath there is a little post that this sits on top of and keeps it from coming out. So if you can get it loosened so it'll come up, inch, this will all come out. And then you go through, and of course, like you've seen earlier, you pop all of these pins and do the same thing on this side. Out, out, loose, loose. Yep, just like that. And then you got 10mm here, 10mm here, and these have to just twist. And then back there is the actual one you want. That's the one holding it in. And those can stay there. Once you got that, this whole back clip will come off in one piece. Again, use carpet so you don't, carpet or something, just because I'd hate to see guys scratches stuff up. Alright, now for back here. We've taken the back bumper off. And what you're looking for is this gray plug right here. It's going to have a dummy plug on it. Just like this. That's what it's going to look like back here. It's the trailer plug. If you guys want to send these to me when you take them off, that'd be great. Because these things are actually really hard to find for my kits. But I regress. Throw that back in the back. Grab your kit. And you can see it's got the same plug. Plug it in. And make sure when you're plugging it in that you push this button while you do it. If you don't, it'll get caught. I had it do to me earlier. Oh, come on. Okay. I gotta do this with two hands, so hold on, guys. Alright. Sorry about that. I had to use both hands. And then it goes on. Take this. Mount it right there. However you want. Red means right. Black goes to the other tail light. I'm going to throw my tail end up here and show you. Okay, now she's plugged in. And these are really stiff and tight because there's this black line in here. That is a gasket, and it keeps these babies from filling with water, which is nice. And then this one goes to the right one, just like that. Then I'm going to flip this over and set it in there. Oof. Okay, stay. Alright, see the lights? So now we're going to go a little left-handed action. Then we're going to do a little right-handed action. There you go. Alright, so then you wipe off this with some alcohol. Take the adhesive pad, stick that baby on. Here's the wipe. It's one I used. And you're good to go. And then you snap this baby back together. Now I got the bumper back on, but before I start pinning it all back together and putting all the bolts in it, I want to double check that everything is where it should be. So come in here, kick the key on, again with the flashers. Make sure she's working. Now that I've confirmed it's working, I'll put her back together. Put all the pins back in it and put the bolts back. Now that you've zip tied all the wires in, give it a test by pulling the hazard knob. Make sure everything's working. Just to double check. Alright. Oh, and you can see the stock lights on the head unit work. Alright, and then to shut the hazards off, you just flip it to one direction or the other, and then back. And then check. Make sure that, yep, daytime running lights are working. Alright guys, if you have any questions, email me or hit me up on Facebook.